support to live.
Well, I'm Bobby the Easter Bunny, and I'm here to collect money. And toys, if you please, for kids with disease. Indeed, let me tell you how. Donate
to the family house.
Donate
to the family house. Never too late to do something great, so don't hesitate to give. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bobby the Easter Bunny. This is Braden, and this is Ashley. Every year, I put on this bunny suit, and with the help of your donations of money and or new toys, I provide happiness and smiles to children with cancer and other life-threatening illnesses. The Family House is a nonprofit organization here in San Francisco, and they provide housing for children with these illnesses and their families. If you want to learn more about this organization, just go to www.familyhouseinc.org, click on Bobby the Bunny, and make a donation. A donation of any size, any amount. It's never too late to do something great. So don't hesitate to donate to the Family House. Bye.
Superman the Movie, starring Christopher Reeve, directed by Richard Donner. That movie shows the tale of Jor-El trying to convince his council, the superiors that run all of planet Krypton, trying to tell them, hey, I did some sciencey research, did some experiments, turns out the planet's going to blow up. Let's all get out of here. And his superiors, they all say, we don't know what you're talking about. All the other scientists agree that we're fine. And we're pretty sure we're going to be fine. Even though you are the most respected scientist, whose actual science accomplishments outweigh everyone on the fucking planet. Even though all of that is true, we're pretty sure that you're wrong, and the planet's not going to blow up. And, I don't know if you know of the superhero Superman. I don't know if you know of his story, but planet Krypton fucking blows up. And all those people fucking fall into a horrible grave. Except for Superman. But there's this deleted scene in the movie where after Superman has learned that he is Kal-El from Krypton, after he's found the Fortress of Solitude, there's a deleted scene where his father is talking to him, and he says, so you've revealed yourself to the world. You've gone around and saved people wearing your Kryptonian colors. That is a good thing, but it's very important that you never reveal your identity. If people were to know of your identity, they would call upon you at all times of day for even menial things that they themselves could solve. And and it's all for vanity. Do not let yourself be drawn that way, and don't let people make you become that way. Don't be vain in yourself. If it weren't for vanity, I could hold you in my arms. And what he means is that the people of Krypton were so vain and so full of themselves and couldn't realize their own failings that they ended up destroying themselves and thus destroying Jor-El's own chance of raising his own son, which is all he wanted. Despite all of his accomplishments, if he could just have one thing, it would be to have his son in his arms. And that's a really powerful scene, and I honestly believe it should have stayed in the movie. I think that's a scene that belonged in the movie. But also, for pacing, yeah, sure. It makes more sense to get rid of it. The movie doesn't suffer without it. It's the message is felt throughout the movie, but that's a really crucial scene. And to that end, I think that's part of what makes Superman the movie such a great movie, is that it has that moral tale, the stuff that's both for kids and for adults, because even adults forget and become selfish and become vain and make horrible mistakes. That is what human beings do. And that was Jor-El's parting message to Kal-El before he goes off to continue his Superman stuff. And Wonder Woman has the same idea, but they don't delete the scene, at least as far as I can tell. That whole philosophy is literally built into the entire movie. Aloha nerds, and welcome back to TheSalawag's Why It's Great. I'm your host, TheSalawag, and on this show I discuss the filmmaking techniques and storytelling choices of my favorite films. You can do your own Why It's Great video about your favorite films. I'm talking about my favorite films. And this week I'm talking about Wonder Woman. Now, normally what I like to do on this show is talk about movies that have been out for a while, movies that I've already read up on, all the special features and interviews, and examine the filmmaking techniques so they can give you a very technical, objective point of view. I'm going to do my best to be objective in this case as well. But this very much, because the movie just came out this weekend, this is going to be a initial reaction, an initial observation. I may do a follow-up video in the future. So if you enjoy my reviews, if you enjoy this review, please hit subscribe, like, all that, or dislike if you don't like it. But here we go. Wonder Woman. Now, this is going to be a spoiler-full review, but if you want a quick little soundbite that says, oh, wait, I want to see it this weekend, should I? Yes. It's a great movie. The show is called Why It's Great. I'm not going to talk about movies that I don't like. I'm not going to talk about movies that I'm going to shit on. I'm only going to talk about movies that I think are great. Wonder Woman is a superhero movie that I've been waiting to see. This is what I wanted from Man of Steel. This is what I wanted from Superman Returns. This is what I wanted from the Spider-Man remakes. This is what I wanted from so many movies, even much of the MCU, which I love and enjoy. But to me, what makes any superhero film great is not just the action and character development. While those things have to be good in any movie, the function of the superhero movie is to be a moral tale for children. Now, anyone can enjoy a superhero story, but the important thing is that the tale is moral, that it teaches both adults and children some kind of value. Think about Batman. Batman is a reaction to someone losing their parents to crime. Superman is a reaction to someone losing their parents to disaster. And Spider-Man is a reaction to someone in a modern society trying to profit from a talent that they have, and in not caring about some crime that happens right in front of them, ends up losing their own family member to a criminal that they let go. So Spider-Man's actually a very complex character because he has a very specific situation. And that's really why he's my favorite superhero, because he has that actual personal responsibility concept thrown into the morality tale. It's not just understanding someone being committed or understanding someone embracing their own culture, but it's about understanding yourself and your own responsibility in your behavior with other people. And that's what I love about Spider-Man. And those are also the movies that usually have been done right. Movies and cartoons that have been done right. And I feel Wonder Woman absolutely did that. The Wonder Woman really covers sort of war. And if you think about Wonder Woman's background, she is a character born from an Amazonian war culture where they are raised from birth to be great fighters. And we're going to get into spoiler territory, just so you know, this is going to be a spoiler-full review. But yeah, definitely a great movie. Definitely has a moral tale worth sitting through. And if you just want to know whether you should see it this weekend, yes, see it. Go watch the movie. Tell me what you think. Even if you disagree with my review today, tell me what you think in the comments. I would love to hear it. And yeah, so here we go. Here comes the spoiler stuff. Here's why it's great. when the movie starts off, if I didn't say it, spoiler, all spoiled. Wonder Woman is a kid who wants to join war. She's excited to join war. And her mom, the queen, is telling her, no, you do not want to be excited for war. I want you to not learn how to fight. I don't want you to go out into the world and start fighting people. And Wonder Woman, of course, doesn't listen and gets training from her aunt, who was the general of the Amazon women. And we see that in that opening training montage, every other soldier is a better fighter than Wonder Woman. So we watch this character go from a terrible fighter to a great fighter. Not quite the best. The movie really shows us her whole journey into becoming the great fighting superhero that we know her to be. And she does become it at the end, which is great. But it's very crucial to understand that the movie has a very early message about not being excited about going to war, not to be excited about killing people. And even her mom tries to tell her a story like, look, listen to this story. This is how we came to be. This is how Themyscira came to be. There was a time of such great, horrendous war where men were trying to kill all of us. And I led the battle, and I saw such horrors that I never want to live through again. And you should know that it was so devastating to our people that Zeus himself had to give us a special place just to be safe. That is how terrible it was. And Wonder Woman hears the story but does not listen to it. Because she gets her training, she trains behind her mother's back, and Chris Pine's character shows up and brings behind him an entire fleet of soldiers trying to kill everybody. And Wonder Woman gets introduced to modern technology for the first time. It's World War I, people have guns, and they're shooting, and Amazon women are going down. And Wonder Woman sees people die for the first time, and she even loses her own aunt who trained her how to fight right in that first battle. And her aunt, before dying, had tried training Wonder Woman, telling her, like, no battle is ever going to be fair. And not only was she right, but she was right about herself. And her aunt had died sacrificing herself trying to save Wonder Woman. So we have this movie that's supposed to be the action, feel-good superhero movie that just makes you feel good about yourself. Well, that movie was Fantastic Four from 2005. This movie is a real movie, and it really kills people, and nothing really happens, it's all fake. Don't forget that this is just a movie. But it really hits the nail on the head in trying to tell you that don't look at these action scenes as normal action scenes. Do not look at it as a disposable life that's lost when these people die. Every time someone dies, it's a personal situation. For at least that person. And Wonder Woman still isn't quite deterred, though, even though she sees her aunt die. After Chris Pine reveals that he needs to get to London and needs to get certain information to certain people in order for the sort of war to be ended sooner and save more lives, Wonder Woman gets him off the island, and one of the first things she says is, take me to wherever the battle is most concentrated, wherever it is the worst. That is where Ares will be. She believes that Ares, the god of war, who had started all the wars that made Themyscira have to hide from the planet, she believes Ares is probably at the source of the greatest violence in the war. And they recruit this team, and this starts to be why it's great. Because this team is not just a collection of faces that, oh, it's a white guy and a black guy together. Ooh, good job. They can be friends. They actually have characters who have personal issues that fill the scenes in the movie. We're introduced to this character, Charlie, and we see this big guy beating up a small guy who can't even throw a fist. And Wonder Woman first says, hey, at least Charlie can fight. And Chris Pine says, oh, no, actually the other guy's Charlie. And we see Charlie get beat down to the ground, and they have to step in for him. And they pull him up, and he's this complete drunk, and he's a mess. And they explain that this guy, and Wonder Woman's like, why do you want this guy? He can't even fight. And they explain, oh no, actually he's a great sniper. And Wonder Woman, like, sniper, you kill people without honor. And he's just like, yeah, whatever gets me paid. And you see his point of view. He's a drunkard. He just wants pay at this point, but he has seen action. He is described as a great sniper, perhaps the great sniper of the entire army. And this is a very important thread, because as they recruit more people, the final person that they recruit, this Frenchman, this French soldier, who is also a fellow spy, and they also recruit a tracker who works for whatever army pays him, a tracker who is a Native American. And when they meet up with the tracker, they decide to all take rest, and Wonder Woman hears booming in the distance and says, "That's strange thunder." And it's Chris Pine who tells her, no, that's actually gunfire, that's mortar fire. The war is still going on, even though people should be resting. And that's Wonder Woman's first sort of inkling of what war is really like. And her second inkling happens literally when she gets that piece of information. She hears Charlie freaking out. He's talking in his sleep, and he says, "Don't go in there. Don't go in there. Don't go in there." And he freaks out in his sleep and starts fighting someone who's not there. And Wonder Woman goes up to grab him to calm him down, and then he freaks out on her and tells her, "What the hell's the matter with you? Leave me alone." And he storms away. And it just seems like strange behavior to her. She doesn't know what's going on. But this is post-traumatic stress disorder. Soldiers experience this when they've been through war. They'll have, when their dreams, they'll have lucid dreams, they'll relive seeing people die, and they will... And this is not strictly limited to soldiers. Anyone who's been through some kind of horrible stress, any kind of horrible event, relives that event in their life, no matter what they're doing. Anything can trigger it. You won't even know what's going to trigger it until it happens. So while people are out there joking about triggering, it's a fucking real thing. And this is one of those examples that he was triggered just by his dreams. His dreams went to a place he didn't want to go. And Wonder Woman didn't understand this. And when he had that freak out dream, there were people laughing in the theater. They didn't understand what was going on. That's what he was going through. And, they get to a certain scene in the movie where there's a sniper attacking them, and they're in a town that they've saved almost everybody, but except they haven't stopped this sniper who's trying to take out all the soldiers and all the Americans storming in. And Charlie tries to he puts his gun up, and he has a perfect shot on the guy. If he had just pulled the trigger, the sniper would have been done for. But he has this wig out moment where he can't pull the trigger, and he just has to pull back, and he's just lost, and he's distant. And before this, he had, in his drunken state, bragged about what a great shot he is. But here in the face of war, he couldn't actually shoot the guy. And Wonder Woman comments on this. After they had saved this town from being enslaved by the Germans, she sees the guy just alone on the side, and he's just dealing with something, and she doesn't understand him at all. She actually judges him and says, "Hey, for a guy who says he's so great at shooting, he didn't do much." And they explain, like, hey, actually, he's seen stuff, and not everyone can be what they want to be at the time that they want to be it, and most people are going to misinterpret this as, oh, well, what are you doing here? Because that's what Wonder Woman was thinking. But actually what the little French guy was trying to tell you was, hey, he's seen stuff, he's been through stuff, and he is fighting his own battle right now. And so while you're sitting there judging him, he's actually been through the shit, and he's going through something. I'm going through something. Everyone's going through something. And so that was a really compassionate point of view on a victim of war. And even before Wonder Woman and the group had gone to the front, to the no man's land where this whole sequence and moment happens, Wonder Woman just keeps getting all these glances at what war is really like and the casualties of it. Where on their way to the train to go to the war, they see soldiers coming back, and at first she sees, fully suited soldiers walking around, they're fine, they seem proud, and she becomes proud having that look on her face, but immediately behind those soldiers who are walking on 2 feet fine, there was a soldier in a wheelchair with both of his legs blown off. There was other soldiers with other limbs missing and being helped and just having just the worst day. And, she doesn't quite know what to think of it, but this scene with Charlie, that is the end. That is what happens to you after war. And this is what filmmakers like to do, is they like to give you a loop to sort of understand the movie better when you see it the second time. So this is a character who wanted to go to war, and when she showed up, found people miserable, broken, beaten. One of her own recruits for her mission throughout the movie is supposed to be a sniper, but he can't snipe because he just can't face what has happened to him again. And she's really getting a full sort of non-propagandistic view of, is that a real word? No. She's getting a full view of the war without the propaganda, without the action movie sort of ease of, oh, Captain America is just killing the bad guys. Every time someone dies, it's a horrific moment for someone. And although she is just killing the bad guys, we're still seeing the consequences of who the bad guys kill. And all of this, although it's stuff happening to other people, is something that Wonder Woman is witnessing. We're in her head experiencing this. So I really consider this movie to be a perfect combination of Superman the movie with Christopher Reeve and Full Metal Jacket. Because Full Metal Jacket, half that movie was training and watching someone learn and grow and become a thing, and the other half was watching them go through war and see the actual consequences of what they were training to do. And that's what Wonder Woman goes through, and she's seeing, but because she's the new person, and because she's the superhero, she doesn't have to personally deal with those consequences. But she witnesses other people go through it. And that's why it's important as a superhero movie. That she is us seeing horrible things happen to other people and reacting to it and growing from it. And she herself finally goes through a traumatic event when, spoiler, Chris Pine sacrifices himself to blow up the ultimate weapon at the end of the movie. She finally loses someone that means, she's already lost people that meant so much to her, but she loses someone who had introduced her to the world and that she had fallen in love with, and that is what every other soldier who survived had gone through up to that point. Even Charlie, what he was screaming in his sleep about was watching his friends die as a sniper. And that's what she then screams about at the end when Chris Pine dies. This is really significant to her as a person, but to the whole theme of the movie. And what I love about the movie is that Ares, the villain, is not the apparent villain. It's not like the Joker who's actively against her. He's supporting her throughout the whole movie for a good reason. By the end of the movie, after she's killed who she thought she was Ares, the real Ares reveals himself and impresses upon her his point of view on humanity, that behold humanity. They will kill each other, they will fail in times of need, they will fail each other in times of need, and they will sacrifice any number of, even on the good side, people will sacrifice any number of other people just to accomplish their goals. And while it seems like he's talking about everyone else, he's also talking about what Wonder Woman just did to the guy who just died. And when Chris Pine dies, Wonder Woman, her full power starts to become unleashed, and she wastes an entire army of German soldiers. And it is at that moment that Ares, his true motivation is revealed, that he was helping her not just to keep the war going, but he was helping her to recruit her. Because throughout the movie, there's this sub-villain, this chemist, who she's got this sort of plastic cover over her face. Her name is Dr. Poison. And Dr. Poison actually plays a significant role throughout the movie. She's the one who's building all the weapons that all the bad guys are using, that we do see get used. And she has a really sad scene where Chris Pine is acting as a spy and trying to romance her into giving him critical information. And, you know, she's alone and no one's talking to her, no one's looking at her. And when he's romancing her, you see a look in her eyes of like this deadness that comes alive, that comes back alive, like someone is interested in me. You know, and that you see that she's just this really, every time we see her, she's just lonely. She's always alone, toiling away in the dark. And she just right next to the fireplace, this one guy out of the entire room decides to talk to her like she matters. And that just, in that moment, you see it means the world to her. And then Wonder Woman appears in the scene. And because Chris Pratt has already fallen in love with her at this point, he looks up and sees her in a dress, and he can't take his eyes off of her. And we see Dr. Poison's eyes just go back to dead. And she's no longer happy anymore. And she just dismisses him and walks away. And this is crucial. Like, again, here's another side character who has a history, who has a pain, and has wants and needs. And it's all expressed visually through her performance in that scene. And she's been the one making all these horrible weapons, but she's a human being too. So as a movie, it's really humanizing the villain. You know, the only villain who's not humanized is the one who first gets killed, the big German general guy. You know, he was the only one who was kind of single-minded and seemed, you know, honest about his intentions and goals. But she herself was a very human character, much like Charlie. She was the Charlie of the villain side. The one going through something that no one else could see or understand, unless they themselves were there. And in the final battle of the movie, you know, Charlie does get his sniping skills out and kills people, but it happens off screen, so we actually don't get to see the payoff to his issue. But in the final moments, after Chris Pine sacrifices himself by blowing up a plane full of dangerous weapons high enough away that it wouldn't hurt anybody. After that happens, Wonder Woman starts killing everyone. She starts killing every single soldier there at a speed that she's never gone at before. And finally, there's no one left to kill, at least in her path. And Ares brings over Dr. Poison. And not only does he bring her over, he throws her to the ground, rips off her mask, and we see this horrible scarring all over Dr. Poison's face. It really is horrible looking, and you sort of see the reason why she wears it. Even though it's clear why she would wear it, you just see the look on her face of being exposed, and she doesn't even cover it. She just feels like an animal who's trapped there. And Ares tells Wonder Woman to kill her. If you really believe this, if you really believe in the truth that I believe in, then kill this woman. Prove that you believe me. Prove that we can work together and do what we're supposed to do. And it's at that moment Wonder Woman picks up a whole tank and is going to kill her, and she just sees how weak and upset and wounded the humanity of the woman looking down at her. She sees all of that, and she realizes she can't. That is her real actual superhero moment. That speech that that Colossus gives at the end of Deadpool. It's like that. You got 4 or 5 moments to really be a hero. And this was her 4 or 5 moments. She sees that beaten little puppy in front of her and she can't kill it. Even though she's killed all these other people mercilessly. It's just having that moment to slow down and look at what you're doing. And realizing that you do have a choice in what you're doing. That's where she finally grows up. So up to this point, she hadn't really grown up. She still believed that war was something that could be accomplished just by killing. But she realized that I can't just kill everyone. Otherwise, I am doing what the enemy is doing. But she does kill Ares, so it's kind of a mixed message. But yeah. Those character threads and sort of seeing the horrors of war and realize and having these little inlets where we could, or these little moments where we can see characters dealing with the consequences of war. This movie is about war. This movie is about our perception of war, about is war really acceptable as a thing to do. And there's all these little threads, these little scenes. When they meet up with their tracker friend, who's a Native American, Wonder Woman asks, so if you're from America, what are you doing here? And he explains, just like Charlie, well, this is where I was able to make money. All of my people were killed. And she says, who killed your people? And the tracker says, his people. And he looks at Chris Pine. And you know that these guys are brothers. The way they all the way they all greet each other is through really tight personal hugs. Like they have been through some horrible stuff together. They are brothers in this time. But they don't shy away from the history that everyone knows exists. But in Chris Pine's point of view, it's accepting that history. It's embracing that history. It's realizing that human beings are messed up people. But and so it's easy to say that we don't deserve anything. But it's not about deserving. It's just about saving who you can when you can. And Chris Pine really is the sort of not just a romantic angle for Wonder Woman, but a different point of view that helps Wonder Woman grow by the end of the movie. That they both have points of view that bump against each other, and they both make each other better and smarter by the movie's end. But Chris Pine ends up, because he's not a god, ends up being the one who has to take the fatal hit to make the rest of it happen. And that's the sacrifice that wakes Wonder Woman up to being a superhero, to trying to not be a warrior anymore. She finally learns the lesson that her mom tried to teach her with the story, but what could not be learned through a story was learned through personal experience. So this is I feel a very deep movie. I think it's a movie that talks about a lot of social issues. I didn't even cover all the issues. Other people have already covered the suffragette and all of that stuff. I just really want to talk about the character work, the character development, and character function of so much of this movie. I really feel like Wonder Woman is a quality film. It has a morality tale to tell. And it's really well told. I mean, Patty Jenkins, hats off. And I didn't get the name of the writer. As I said, this is a reaction. I didn't do my proper research for it. But hats off to the writing. I saw in the credits Zack Snyder had a hand in telling the story, in coming up with the story. So thank you, Zack Snyder. Sorry for all the hate. I was in on it too. Also, sorry, Ben Affleck. I'm sorry. Because, damn, when you get something right, you get something right. I mean, yeah, Batman vs. Superman had some problems, but, I watched it again, a year later when it came on TV, and I was like, man, this was actually pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. It has just some amazing scenes, and I feel like now I feel so much more rewarded for going through Batman vs. Superman and seeing Wonder Woman's introduction and getting that little picture. And this story told the tale of the picture that was found in Batman Begins and told it so well. It did everything I wanted Thor and Captain America to do. Not to pander to us, not to give us an easygoing, happy smiles movie, but to really tell us a story that had moral and societal significance. And granted, with Marvel, they really had to pump out those first movies. They had no time, they had no money, they really had to make things quick, or they would lose it all again. So, I mean, I'm not trying to shit on Marvel, but I'm saying this is something that I really wanted to see from superhero movies, and that I hope future superhero movies do, that they aspire to be like Wonder Woman. That they aspire to tell the tale that Wonder Woman, Spider-Man 2002, Superman 78, Dark Knight Rises, these 4 movies served, and X-Men Days of Future Past, 5 movies. These 5 movies are prime examples of movies that tried to tell us something moral and important, and didn't just serve to give us action scenes and loose character development that could, make a movie passable. And as someone who's made one of those movies, a little short called I Only Need One, I do know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that to me is why Wonder Woman's great. Great control of story, great function of story. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe. There will be more. And if you didn't enjoy it, yeah, sorry. I didn't tell you this would be fun. But that was my objective observations of the movie and what I felt were the intentions of the movie. So, yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's a long-ass video.